What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I've got another video of news for you. Apologies, 4 days today. Sorry for the spam a little bit, but I did reveal this card when the artwork got shown to us by Konami, by the OCG, and saying it worked with Charmers, which I know there are some people that follow the channel. They're excited about the Charmers stuff. So I wanted to just show it because I said I'd show it in that video, and I owe it to you guys. It'll be a quick one here, but it's just one card, but it is a cool promo, and it does work with Charmers. So let's get right into it. Today we're looking at Ida, the Sun Magician. This card is an Earth level 4 spellcaster effect monster with 1500 attack, and more importantly, 1500 defense. Keep that in mind. You can only use its first and second effects once per turn. First effect, if this card is normal summoned or flipped face up, you can special summon one spellcaster with exactly 1500 defense straight from your hand or deck, except for another copy of itself in face down defense position. Has to be face down. Now that is kind of the only bummer here, but you'll see the second effect kind of helps that a little bit, because their second effect says during the opponent's main phase, you can change one face down spellcaster monster you control to face up attack position or face up defense position. Okay, so the whole idea here is you're going to set a spellcaster straight from the deck, and then on your opponent's main phase, you're going to flip that monster up. Now, there's a couple of different routes here. There's only really, I think, three main cards I think this actually works any kind of decent with. But before we get to those, I think we want to look at the field spell real quick, because it's just important to note that our field spell that already got revealed for this structure deck says once per turn, while you control a spellcaster with exactly 1500 defense, negate any monster effect by your opponent. It's only the first of monster effect, so there's obviously ways your opponent can work around this, but we will take it in an archetype that does not have very surefire ways of getting to disruption. This is that. It is disruption, so we will take that for sure. And this card is 1500 defense, like we said before, so it does at least turn this on and get you another card, which is really nice. It is just a +1 at the end of the day, so you can't really complain. Also, it's 1500 attack, but not 200 defense, so you cannot use our new spellcaster here as part of the second effect to like shuffle a spellcaster back. You can shuffle it back as a spellcaster to get another monster. You just can't search for it itself if you're looking for a starter, so just keep that in mind as well. As far as the targets, though, there's really only like 3. The weird one, I guess we'll just throw it out there real quick, is Green Turtle Summoner. This card's kind of cool, but it just says like target one monster your opponent controls and destroy it on flip. So the idea is you just set him off of her when she's normal summoned, and then on your opponent's main phase, you could just flip him up and just pop a monster. It's really not the worst. You do have to play the brick, and so I doubt we'll see this, but it is just like a cool interaction that we saw. And then the other like interactions this card has as far as the good monster gets you is, one, it gets you your familiar possessed monsters. They have exactly 1500 defense, and they are very important to what our strategy wants to do. And it's also another just spellcaster with 1500 defense. Once you special it out, it means your opponent can't just like beat over one of your spellcasters with 1500 and then like start activating monster effects. Even if they did that, you still would have one monster negate live with your field spell here, which is still pretty nice. And the other one is something that a lot of people were like, I don't know about judging is the word, but all of the smaller Charmer monsters, they all are the ones with flip effects. Everybody thought they were way too slow, really bad. They actually have interesting interactions here with this card. They pretty much all say, like, whatever attribute they are, they say, like, if they're flipped up, you can take control of a monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as them, which is honestly pretty cool, and it makes them a little more useful, but just being so like attribute reliant is like really, really tough, unless like there's like a meta deck that is like surefire like dark, like maybe like Orcus storms the meta again. Then that's kind of interesting, because like you could just like on the summon of the Galatea just like steal the Galatea, and that can be like a pretty nasty choke point for them. Sometimes if they've already had to activate like Nightmare and stuff prior, then like that could be interesting. But like again, those are just more bricks that you got to play just with this card, and that you like really never want to draw. You never want to draw the flip effect monsters. So maybe it's interesting. Maybe it's a weird side choice once you already know what you're playing against, especially because they are attribute reliant. So once you know you're in that right matchup, then maybe you side one copy of it in. You have this card that like gets you access to it, and you could do some spicy interruptions there. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's cheeky, but I think the main thing is just it's a +1. It gets you a familiar possessed out. I don't like that you can't just make the link play immediately. I also appreciate that this card is an Earth attribute instead of being light or dark like a lot of spellcasters end up being. It is Earth, so it is actually one of the elemental typings. And as we saw from earlier this morning, that the Earth new familiar monster, the bigger familiar, is actually better than like the fire one, so it's one of the better ones, so we can like take that. It's actually not too terrible. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this card. I mean, there's not really much to go over here. It's pretty simple what it does. It's pretty specific. It really only works in this deck. There's not really great targets for it unless you wanted to play like a green turtle summoner turbo deck. It's not the worst. It's kind of just like a Dryden, pop a monster. It's quick. I don't know. It's cool. But I think this card is nice for this deck. We'll see once we get, like, I really want to see all and, like, know for sure that we have all legitimately of the new cards for Charmers revealed before I want to start assuming where the deck will go. But this card definitely seems like it has a legitimate shot at getting itself, you know, into the deck. But we'll have to wait and see on the final, I guess, cards to get revealed. We're still going to see the water and the wind familiars, and if there are any other cards. Hopefully there's like 1 to 3 other cards outside of those, but we'll see. I mean, it's a structure deck. You can't really expect, you know, 10 new cards in a structure deck, but I'm hoping for it because it's Charmers. Like, Konami probably knows that they need to put out that many cards, but we'll see, of course, as always. But that's going to do it for me here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you want to see more news videos from me, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.